Now let's think about negligence. So we saw strict liability doesn't work, but modified strict liability works. So under strict liability, with a defense of contributory negligence, we can find X star Y star is an equilibrium. And now let's see whether negligence works. So under negligence, what is the negligence rule? Under negligence rule, we have X due care. So there is no Y due care, only X due care under negligence rule, remember? So negligence rule says if X, injurer's care, is careful enough, then injurer doesn't pay under accident. But otherwise, so X is less than due care, then injurer has to pay. So this is the negligence rule. And let's see if our social optimum X star Y star is an equilibrium under negligence rule. So actually this is homework 2.2. So you have an answer at the back of my lecture note, but I'm gonna do this myself for you because you can find the distinction in the logic here and the logic for strict liability with a defense of contributory negligence. So under negligence rule, so make sure due care is equal to X star. So in general, when we study negligence rule, setting due care at exactly equal to X star is really important. Otherwise, as you saw in the previous homework, homework 2.1, when due care is not set at X star or Y star, negligence rule may not work. So when we study negligence rule, setting due care exactly at X star is very important. So let's assume due care X bar is equal to X star, and let's study if X star Y star, our social optimum, can be equilibrium under negligence rule. Okay, so we have to show two things as before, right? You want to show X star Y star is an equilibrium, you have to show two things. So first, you have to show injurer wants to choose X star as long as victim is choosing Y star. And second, you have to show victim wants to choose Y star as long as injurer is choosing X star. So let's begin with the number 1. So we want to show whether injurer wants to choose X star when victim is choosing Y star. So in this case, so under negligence rule, right? So remember, so Y is equal to Y star here. So under negligence rule, if injurer's care is careful enough, in this case he doesn't have to pay under negligence rule, right? So in this case, what is injurer's cost? So injurer has a care cost, so he was careful, so X is his care cost. When there is an accident, he doesn't pay. When there is no accident, nothing to pay. So injurer's cost is just equal to X. But if injurer's care is not enough, what is injurer's cost? So first, care cost. And now, if there's an accident, injured has to pay because he was negligent. His care was not enough. So if something goes wrong, he has to pay. And make sure you have Y star here because we suppose victim is choosing Y star. Okay, so first, so using our previous logic, if injurer is choosing to be careful enough, he doesn't have to be overly careful here because that doesn't help. As long as he's choosing just equal to due care is enough. And if he's more careful than that, he's just wasting money. So he doesn't want to do that. So he's not gonna choose X strictly bigger than due care. So in this case, if he's gonna choose to be careful, he's gonna choose just equal to due care. So therefore, his cost is equal to due care, and remember due care is equal to X star. So this is his cost. So our question here is, so if injurer choose exactly due care, his cost is X star, so yellow. And if he choose to be negligent, so his care is not enough, so X is less than due care, then this green expression is injurer's cost. Injurer wants to minimize his cost, so the question here is, what is the solution for injurer to minimize his cost? So as you can imagine, the answer is gonna be X star. So we're gonna use a similar logic as before. So here we're gonna use a similar logic as before. So we're gonna compare two quantity. So we're gonna compare two quantities here. So quantity number 1, quantity number 2. So if you compare 1 and 2, which one is smaller? So we know that number 1 is smaller, right? Using the same logic as before, we know that number 1 is smaller. And then I'm gonna subtract Y star from both sides. Then we can see that this is injurer's payoff when injurer is choosing X less than due care. And this, I'm sorry, I'm not done. And we can see that X star is less than this number 1 expression, right? Because this yellow term is positive number. So from number 1 expression, you subtract yellow expression, then you get a smaller number. So X star must be less than number 1. So we can see, look at this blue expression. What is it? This is injurer's cost when injurer is choosing exactly due care, which is equal to X star. So therefore, we can see that for injurer, using this inequality, if injurer choose due care, this is cost. And if injurer is not choosing due care, so his care is less than due care, this is injurer's cost. So it's gonna be always bigger. So our conclusion is injurer is gonna choose X star. So we are done. So we are done with first part. And now let's move to the second part. So we want to show victim wants to choose Y star when injurer is choosing X star. So look here. We are under negligence rule and injurer is choosing X star, which is equal to due care. So under negligence rule, injurer is choosing X star and X star is equal to due care. Then when there is an accident, what's gonna happen? Who's gonna pay? So injurer doesn't pay in that case, right? Because under negligence rule, as long as injurer is choosing exactly due care, he doesn't pay when there is an accident. So whenever there is an accident, victim has to bear all the cost. So let's write down victim's problem. So victim's problem is, so victim wants to minimize his cost. And what is victim's cost? The victim's cost is care cost and the accident cost, because when there is an accident, he cannot get any money. And make sure you have X star here, because we suppose injurer is choosing X star. So using a similar idea as before, so we are using a similar idea as before. So we're gonna compare these two. So if you compare these two, so this is number 1, this is number 2. If you compare these two, which expression is smaller? We know that number 1 is smaller. So number 1 is smaller. We know that. So from both sides, we're gonna subtract X star. So subtract X star. Then we can see. So look here. In this function, you put Y star, then you get number 1. So Y is equal to Y star, then you get number 1. And you put anything other than Y star, then anything other than Y star, then you get number 2. So this inequality says if you want to minimize this function, y must be equal to y star. Therefore, victim wants to minimize his cost, so victim is gonna choose exactly equal to y star as long as injurer is choosing x star. So we are done with the second half. So therefore, what is our conclusion? So under negligence rule, we showed two things. Injurer wants to choose X star as long as victim is choosing Y star. And second, victim wants to choose Y star as long as injurer is choosing X star. So Conclusion. Under negligence rule, X star, Y star is equilibrium. So therefore, by using negligence rule, we can induce both injurer and victim to choose social optimum X star and Y star. So negligence rule works. So negligence rule works in bilateral care situation.